O'Reilly. Are your wiper blades chattering, skipping, or squeaking? Don't let streaks or smearing on your windshield compromise your visibility. When it's time to replace your wiper blades, stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts and see our selection. Our professional parts people will even install your new wiper blades while you wait. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts today. O'Reilly Auto Parts.
There's nothing like snook hook sets at dawn or catching a tarpon in the moonlight. Find your next fishing trip made easy on fishingbooker.com and experience the magic of the Sunshine State or any other destination on your fishing bucket list. Book a blue water adventure in search of sailfish or go snapper fishing with the kids. With over 6,000 captains and trips to choose from, planning your next one just got a whole lot easier. Download the Fishing Booker app on the Google Play or App Store, or visit them online at fishingbooker.com to book your trip today. You ever get that feeling the walls closing in, the concrete jungle suffocating you? You crave some wide open spaces, the chance to connect with nature, maybe in a spot all your own. Well, head over to land.com. They've got ranches, forests, mountains, streams, you name it. Search by acreage. You can search by location. You can search by the kind of hunting and fishing you're dreaming of. Land.com. It is where the adventure begins.
Oh, hey, Hunting Collective. Back at you, episode number 77. We are in September officially. It is time for elk season here, whitetail seasons in other places, but we've chosen to focus on the Wapiti today on episode 77. In the intro to the podcast, we gave a chance for Cameron Haynes and Sam Soholt to inspire us, to hype us up for elk season as it is here. And then Randy Newberg came in and interrupted us. We got a great interview with Randy about elk, about hunting, about life, about kids, just about everything, as Randy's one of my favorite people in the world. And when you leave a conversation with Randy Newberg, you feel just a little bit inspired to go and do things like Randy. Love Randy. But before we get to that, we're going to get to Federal Premium. It is, again, almost time to get your rifles out. Almost time to get your shotguns out. So if you go to federalpremium.com, you'll find a wide array of rifle, handgun, shot shell, rimfire, muzzleloader, reloading materials that you can use to dispatch wild game and get them onto the grill, onto the smoker, into the oven, and into your mouth. So federalpremium.com, go there. We're also brought to you by Yeti Coolers, or Yeti as they're better known nowadays. The new Hopper M30. It's an ultimate improvement on the Hopper that you so love. It's got a new closure. I got a new color, a new look. Still the same old badass performance from our friends at Yeti. So go to yeti.com and look at the new Hopper M30. Please check that out. So with further ado, we're going to get excited for elk season. Me and Phil are coming in hot for episode 77. Enjoy.
I guess I grew up on an old dirt road. A pedal to the metal, always did what I was told. Until I found out that my brand new clothes came secondhand from the rich kids next door. When I grew up fast, I guess I grew up mean. There's 1,000 things inside my head I wish I ain't seen. And now I just wander through a real bad dream, or feeling like I'm coming apart at the seams. But thank you, Jack Daniels, oh, number 7.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode 77 of the Hunting Collective. I'm Ben O'Brien, and I am excited. I'm hyped up. Phil, do you feel the electricity in the studio right now?
Yeah, I can definitely feel something.
You're feeling it.
Uh-huh.
You're feeling it.
Yeah. Why are we excited?
Elk season.
Woo!
Woo! Woo! Elk season, baby. We're 4 days away from elk season here in Montana, and elk season will be kicking off across the country. And the purpose of this show today is to hype you up for elk season. We're going to talk all things elk. And what we're going to do first, I'm not even going to get into anything else. We're going to do a little round the horn. We're going to call our favorite elk hunters from around the world, well, really around the country, and we're going to ask them to help us hype each other up. We're going to Where are they hunting? What are they doing? And then hype us up for this. And so we're going to call them right now. The first person we're going to call is one Cameron Haynes. And we're just going to dial him, and you're going to hear the whole process as raw could be. So here we go. We're going to dial Cam right now. He's in Oregon. Probably just got done running. Probably just got done lifting and shooting. His son, Truett, was just here yesterday at the Meat Eater studio. Oh, it's ringing. It's ringing. See what Cam's up to. He's probably just right now thinking about elk. Sitting around his house.
Chances are.
You've never met Cam Haynes, have you, Phil?
I haven't, no.
Hopefully he answers. Otherwise, this is all ruined.
I think this is still good.
Hello.
Hey, Cam, what's up, man?
Hey, what's up?
Now we're on the air at the old hunting collective, and we're talking about elk, and we figured we would call you and just see how hyped you are for the upcoming season.
Oh, I mean, pretty hyped, I guess. And if I have time, I'm going to get out.
you keep things pretty calm over there. I know.
Yeah. No, I got a lot. I mean, the gutters need to be cleaned out before it starts raining, and I got a lot of yard work to get done. So if I have time, I'll get out. And
yeah. You're pretty like a pretty casual elk hunter, I find. You get out when you can.
Yeah, no. It's killing me today because I'm actually at work, and drives me insane to be at work during elk season, but I'm going to be gone. I go back to back to back, Colorado, Arizona, Utah, 3 amazing elk hunts. So I'm just kind of, putting in the time before I'm gone for a long duration.
Yeah.
And, that'll be next week. So yeah, I'm this is what I live for.
Yeah,
all joking aside.
Absolutely. And your son Truett was just through here in the Keep Hammering. We call that the Keep Hammering truck. I mean, that thing is badass.
Yeah, it's cool. It's I know. I was glad he was able to swing by yesterday. Coming from Baltimore to Oregon, I convinced him it was a good opportunity for him to see the country, and I think that seemed like a good plan for probably an hour or two, and then he told me that driving that. He tried to do a 24-hour run, and he wanted to get 100 miles done earlier this summer, and he didn't get that. He got 90 miles done, but he said but driving across country is harder than running 100 miles. So I think that's a one and done. But he was able to swing by and talk to you and Steve and get there to Meat Eater, and so that was cool. I was happy for that.
No, that's awesome. And you guys are gonna hunt out of that truck all season, then give it away. He was telling me.
Yeah. Yep. We're gonna. Well, somehow, I don't know how we're going to do it. It's, government can figure out a way to screw up anything, but we want to give it away after I use it for elk season, get some exposure for the Army Ranger Fund, and then give them all the money. And what we don't want to do is whoever wins the truck, we don't want them to have to pay taxes on the value of it. That's kind of like a thing.
Yep.
And so if say the truck's worth $40,000, they'd have to pay $10,000 in taxes because it's like considered income. So we're trying to figure out a way around that. But at the end of the day, we're going to give $50,000 to the Lead the Way Fund to help the families of fallen rangers, and somebody's going to get a cool truck, and I'm going to hopefully get some elk blood in it. So that's boy,
I'm ready. We're hyped. We got roughly 4 days or so until it starts here in old Montana.
Yeah.
Do you have one thing, like you've had a lot of success last year? I think probably had your best elk year ever. Would you say? I mean, you killed some giant bulls. Do you have one thing that you think? Yeah, I mean, I think you've gotten better as you've done this. I think you could agree with that. Like, do you have one thing that you would tell people that is just the key to success, even if they have one elk hunt a year? Like, what's the thing? I know this is a hard question, but what's the thing you can boil it down to?
To me, it's simple as time. It's just time is a bow hunter's best friend. You just have to be out there. You have to give yourself opportunity. It's really easy to fail at bow hunting. It's 90% of the guys fail every year when we're talking archery and killing bulls with the bow. So if you don't want to be in that 90%, you want to be on the 10% side of success. generally that takes time. There is a seldom story about the guy just got into camp, walked out first day and killed a bull. I mean, it happens. And when it does, it's like, it doesn't feel fair to the guys that's just been grinding all the season, getting ready and putting in a week's worth of work. And then you hear these stories and you're like, how is that right or even fair? But that's, life works that way. But generally, the more time you have, like when I first started, I would give myself in the wilderness here in Oregon at least 10 days. And I'd be like, if I can get 10 opportunities on one of them, I'm probably going to get it done. 1 out of 10, and I'll get it done. But if you're only giving yourself a handful of days and you might get one opportunity, it's really easy for that opportunity to, who knows? I mean, wind change, screw up a shot, hit a branch, whatever, child sees you. So you have to get past that. And to me, it's time. And this is kind of a long-winded answer, but, a big part of what I do is a lift and shoot, get ready every day. But the basis of that and the key to my success is I've been in the mountains a lot for over the past 35 years. And to new hunters, just having time in the mountains and just learning animals and learning behavior and what you can get away with and what you can't get away with and when you should push it and when you should back off. And that's just experience. And another word for experience is time out there. And so to me, that's the biggest thing. You got to be in the mountains. You have to accrue some experience. You have to know the animal in the country you're hunting. And then you have to have your bow in hand and be out there as long as possible during the hunt to overcome those challenges and find success.
Yeah, there's nothing better. I mean, you're definitely an inspiration to a lot of people. I was gonna say like we could end this with like an inspirational like call for the hype of elk season, but I feel like you just gave it to us right there, man. Like just get out there and spend the time and be devoted to this thing if you love it so much. And that goes for really anything in life, but especially elk hunting.
It is. It's like we are so lucky to be able to do this, to be able to I don't know. I mean, just we can work hard all year, we can dream about something, and then this is the time of year where we can actually pursue that dream. And it's something that not everybody has a chance to do or even understands. And I see people all the time that are later in life and they're like, I want to be a hunter. I don't know where to start. And so to the guys that have grown up doing this, it's like, I sometimes think we take it for granted and we take for granted how special this, we all have a limited time on this earth. So we've been out there, this living life at its fullest in the mountains, pursuing an animal with the bow and arrow. And that, to me, that's a pinnacle of life. It's as good as it gets and as pure and honest as it gets. And we really need to appreciate that. And so I try to, when I'm out there now, I mean, I used to play like anybody, take everything for granted. I'm going to have all this for my whole life. And, if you don't do this, you're an idiot and this or that. But now I'm like, God, how lucky are we to be hunters? Yeah. And so that's what I try to think about that. I try to be a little more, I don't know, just mature in my approach now and just know that, man, this is the greatest time to be alive and in the mountains.
God, we're going to end it on that. Let you get back to work. All I wanted was a little bit of hype for elk season, dude, and you delivered that and then some.
All right.
Thanks, Cam.
All right, buddy. Well,
good luck this season, brother.
Pleasure talking to you. Hey, thanks for entertaining my son yesterday, and good luck this season. Keep me posted.
All right, brother. Thanks. Good luck to you. See you soon.
All right, thank you.
Later. Bye. Cam Haynes, in an inspiration, Phil.
Yeah, that was wonderful. He seemed to have he seemed hyped.
He was hyped.
He was hyped for elk season.
You want to, we should do some push-ups or maybe like a...
Uh-huh. I think so.
Yeah, I see that look in your eye. You got that wild look in your eye, Phil.
Yeah. It's not there at all.
All right, we're got another a phone call. Who's next on the list of elk hype season phone calls? None other than Remi Warren, one of my favorite humans. We're going to call him up right now. We're not going to give his number away. You would all be calling him. The host, as a matter of fact, of Cutting the Distance, a wonderful podcast that has a lot of elk tips. And we're giving him a call right now, Remi Warren. I think Remi's out right now scouting for elk, as a matter of fact.
Oh, this is going to be We're calling in live.
Live. So live.
Hi, this is Remi Warren with Montana Out West Outfitters. I'm available right now, but if you leave your name, phone number, and a detailed message, I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thanks for calling.
Hey, Remi, Ben O'Brien, Hunting Collective, and then Phil. Say, hey, Phil.
Hey, Remi, how's it going?
You know us. We're just calling to check in and make sure elk season's going well, and we're looking for a little hype from you. So give us a call back at this number. See ya.
Wow, inspirational.
That was unbelievable.
Now I do want to do some push-ups.
That was unbelievable. And now you guys all know what Remi's voicemail sounds like.
Yeah.
So for all of you down there, he just said go again. He texted me go again.
Okay.
He accidentally hung up on us. I just want to call him again. See if that works. Going back. Go back to the phones.
Hello?
Remi.
Hey, what's up?
We left you. Phil and I left you a message. Chiding you
nice.
for not answering while we're live on the podcast.
Oh, are you really live?
Yeah, so don't say anything. Don't get too crazy.
Okay.
What are you doing right now?
I am getting a pressure washer.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's it.
Exactly.
That's exciting. Exactly. That's exciting.
Yeah.
Are you
Yeah.
out? Are you been out elk scouting?
Yes, I have. Well, no, I've been antelope hunting mostly.
Yeah, and
But I mean, simultaneously, if I see an elk, I guess that's elk scouting, but I've been antelope hunting.
you shot a good goat in Idaho. You told me.
Yep.
Well, we're doing a very quick round table. We're just calling a bunch of people and getting hyped for elk season. So I'm looking for your best, your best way to get people pumped up for elk season. What you got? Anything for us?
The best way to get people pumped up?
Yeah, just give them a rallying cry, something that'll get them going.
That I mean, you should. I feel like elk season is self-pumping. Do you need me to? If you need me to pump you up for elk season, you shouldn't be elk hunting. That's it. That's my pump up.
That's your only. Get it together.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
No, I mean, I think that I've heard some bugles. The elk are being active already. It's kind of a later opening weekend, so it actually will be a better opener for Montana at least than some years, because some years it's always that first Saturday in September. So if you're in Montana, you're waiting patiently, but should be a good season opener.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good. Well, we'll leave you with that. If you feel like if you've really excited people for elk, we'll leave you. That's okay.
Okay.
All right.
No, I mean, I was confused.
All right. Well, we gave you a shot, and I feel like you really, yes, it's like self-awareness. Get your shit together, people. That's it.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, exactly. I mean, what else? I don't know. I mean, I feel like I get pretty excited about elk hunting. I don't really need pumping up.
Yeah. In your face. All right. We'll get back to it. We'll call you later.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks.
Bye. Remi is thoroughly annoyed with me, I feel.
That was a different kind of inspiration than the stuff we got from Cam. I would say.
Yeah, as a follow-up.
But I'd say just as valuable.
Just as valuable.
Why do you need my
Why do you need us to help?
Yeah.
What do you even listen to this podcast for? Turn it off now and go do something productive.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is certainly not productive.
Yeah, well, we got both ends of the spectrum there.
That's true. And now we're gonna call my good friend Sam Soholt, the bus guy. Now he's also a diehard elk hunter and been killing a lot of elk lately. So we're gonna give him a call. We're gonna see what he has to say. All right. This is Sam Soholt, the bus guy. Now, he's become the bus guy over the last few years. But prior to that, he was just a guy.
Just a guy.
Hello.
Samuel.
What's up?
You're. I just want to tell you that you're live on the air for the Hunting Collective, so don't say anything crazy, okay?
Okay, I won't. I promise.
Keep it PC. Here on this
Yeah.
show, we rarely ever say words like shit or fuck.
It's rare, but it does happen.
If it does happen, it's a mistake when it happens. We all know these kinds of things happen. So I just want you to know that you're live on the air, okay?
Okay, good. Yeah.
And the reason I'm calling you, it's a very simple reason, is we're hyping everybody up for elk season. We just talked to Cam Haynes. He said all kinds of inspirational shit that gets me like I'm shaking right now. I'm so excited. So I need you.
How am I going to follow Cam Haines?
I don't know. That's everybody's problem. Everybody on the internet's problem. You tell us where you're going now for elk hunting.
Colorado first.
Yeah.
Yep. So I'm in Colorado currently. My brother lives here in Fort Collins, so we're just kind of doing the last minute touches, packing up, and then we'll go hike in.
Nice. Now you have a whole fall of hunts, but is that your big elk hunt? You got other ones coming up?
I've got so archery elk hunt here in Colorado, and then I'm actually doing a rifle elk hunt for the first time in Montana.
Nice.
Yeah, which I'm super pumped about.
Yeah, thanks for the invite. Yeah.
Well, hey, you're more than welcome to come. I'm doing the hunt for RMEF, going hunting on a brand new piece of public that just opened up.
Oh, nice, man. Well, it's public, so I'll just run into you there. You just tell me where it is, and I'll just come over.
I'll send you a pin and the dates, and I'll see you there.
Yeah, and I'll just be like, oh, cool, we're hunting together now. Shouldn't have dropped me a waypoint. So what's your, do you have we're trying to get people hyped. Do you have, describe why elk hunting is, a thing special to you? Why it is different? Why people should be excited?
I think, for me, I think the thing about elk hunting is I know it's not the earliest hunt that you can do in the year, but it's kind of the way to kick off, really the Western big game season. Obviously there's antelope seasons that open, but elk is it's the first real time you get to go back into the high country and you're chasing an 800-pound antler clad, forest horse. It's just when you have something that close that's that big, it moves something in your soul. I don't know how else to describe it. It's the best time. It's the best time of the year to be in the mountains.
How would you describe an elk if someone like an alien had just landed and saw an elk and you were there and you're like, well, let me try to describe this thing.
Let's see. A 4-legged furry creature standing about 5 feet tall, weighing roughly 800 pounds with bone growing out of its head, so it can spear other animals of the same category.
Nice.
I don't know. I was gonna describe it it's kind of like a horse with horns, but that
And then they'd be like, "What's a horse?"
Right? Yeah. So
a 4-legged magical creature that makes all kinds of random sounds.
Yeah, it's just a real pretty critter that runs around and makes really cool noises.
We chase them, we shoot them, and we eat them.
Yes, we do.
What tell us your craziest elk story before we let you go.
My craziest elk story?
Yeah, just give us a wild one.
Yeah, so 2 years ago, I didn't even kill the elk, but 2 years ago, I was in the woods hunting with my buddy Andrew Whitney in Montana, and we were we hiked in a snowstorm. The first day we hunted, nothing happened. Next morning, it was just super cold, completely calm and crisp. And we were cresting this ridge, and I'm pretty sure a bull heard us cresting the ridge and thinking it was another elk. He rips off a bugle at 200 yards. And so Whitney bugles back, and then another bull bugles down the mountain. And the first bull and the second bull start bugling back and forth to each other, and you can tell they're literally sprinting at each other. And they run in, and we can't see them at this point, but we hear them start fighting. So Whitney and I sprint down the mountain, probably 250 yards, and run within 40 of these two bulls that are just fighting hard and pushing each other back and forth and grunting and just basically stop, locking horns and then stopping because they're breathing so hard. And then finally one of them pushed the other bull off, and then Whitney drew back and shot the winner of the fight, and kind of ended up being the loser of the fight. But yeah, shot the bull, and that was probably my craziest time in the elk woods, was watching two really good bulls just duke it out.
All right, well, get hyped. What's your you want to just yell at us, scream at us a little bit and get us hyped?
I sure can. It's elk season, people. Get out there and go kill one.
Steve, thanks, man. Steve Ranella just came and whispered, Randy Newberg. Randy Newberg's here.
Oh, tell Randy hi for me.
No, you're not late. We're already recording. Randy, sit on down. Randy's here, and we're talking to Sam Soholt on the phone, getting us hyped. Can we put this on speaker, Phil, so Randy can hear it?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to. We're actually gonna have to take a slight break so I can record Randy's channel because it's not recording right now.
Damn it, Phil. All right, Sam. Well, thanks for extending some hype. We appreciate it.
Yeah. No, thanks, guys. Tell Randy hi for me, and good luck this week.
Later, dude.
Hey, Randy. See ya.
Bye.
I guess I grew up on an older road.
Hey, Randy, what's up?
Oh, man, not a whole lot other than the fact that I have a break right now from 2 weeks in Nevada. You see all this? I'm normally a pale
You look bronze.
Yeah. I'm rather bronze thanks to the 90-degree temps of 2 weeks in Nevada. So I'm home for a week, and then it's launch the
rocket.
Yeah.
I'm glad I caught you.
Yeah.
When I texted you, I'm like, there's no way. It's impossible that he's going to be around. I was like, he's going to be like, F no, man. I'm out. I'm somewhere else.
Actually, it's a good break because what happens in my CPA life, the world knows that I'm in town for these 4 days, and everybody wants a piece of my time.
Well, thanks for coming into the old Meat Eater studio. This is the first time you've seen it. What are your thoughts? I always have guests like kind of describe their surrounings. So go for it.
Yeah, this has a run. Kind of this. The color of the acoustic curtains reminds me of 1970s in my trailer house I grew up in. It's kind of this butterscotch, like a dirty butterscotch color.
Yeah.
But the acoustic artwork is top notch. I'm really impressed with that.
Yeah, we had other folks describe like the forced perspective as appealing or not appealing, depending.
Yeah. Well, I really don't want my crew to come here and see how you guys are set up.
Yeah.
Because we've got 9 of us stacked on top of each other. We're like a lab rat facility, and we don't have all this acoustic stuff. So,
well, yeah, I think Marcus is like my neighbor.
I hear that.
I heard like down the street. I'm just like a guy that my next rank said, do you know a guy who works with Randy Newberg? Like, Marcus? Yeah, he lives right there. I was like, oh, cool, man.
Yeah.
So we're legit neighbors.
When I picked him up for the Nevada trip, he's like, yeah, Ben lives right there. Yeah. I'm like, well, I guess if ever you need anything, go over to Ben's house, knock on the door.
Yeah, I told him, here's keys to my garage, man. Just go in there. You need a bow, just pull over the same draw length and get in there and get to ripping. That's good. Well, and Phil, Phil gets a lot of credit for this studio, don't you, Phil?
Yeah, I mean, before I came in, it was still the headset mics, very small table, no artwork. I can't take credit for the artwork, unfortunately, but I can take credit for the table and the mics and the board and all the new stuff. Yeah.
Thanks, Phil.
Oh, you're welcome.
You stay. We're going to give Phil a raise after this.
I was going to say, the guy needs a raise. I don't know what he makes, but I just walk around and give people a raise anyhow. I'm no longer...
Damn CPAs.
Yeah, I'm no longer an owner at the CPA firm. I sold my partnership interest a few years back, and I walk in there, and if one of the employees does something good for me, I'm like, hey, you get a raise today.
Get a raise.
And the partners are like, you can't do that. I'm like, well, I just did.
I'm leaving. I'm going to be in Nevada for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So your Nevada hunt, you said it went well and not so well in some
yeah we did the first week was archery mule deer, and anyone who's hunted archery mule deer in Nevada knows it's not easy. Archery mule deer, it's just in general not easy, and then Nevada's big, wild, nasty country, and then you add the temps in the 90s and lack of water, and you really have to plan the logistics of, okay, if I went in here and did an overnight or a backpack, where am I going to get water for me and the crew? And so we had some close encounters. No one released an arrow, but it just seems that Nevada mule deer has our number.
I was just going to say, but that's just spot and stalk mule deer in general, especially this time of year. You kind of feel like you might be better off finding a water hole and setting up a blind.
You would, and I admire people who can do that, but I don't have the mental makeup to sit water. I try it once in a while, and I'm just...
So you would be a poor whitetail hunter.
I would be. I'm just... I don't know. I'm not wired that way. So, and then the week after that, we had a friend of ours who he's done 5 deployments in his 20 years in the Army. He's in the EOD, the Explosive Ordnance Disposal Group, i.e. the bomb squad. And when you do that, you get a lot of concussions. You get a lot of things. And so he's been being treated for traumatic brain injury over the last 3 or 4 years. And last year I invited him on a bison hunt, and he joined us. And so this year I arranged for him to be able to hunt pronghorn in Nevada.
Wow.
And it's the most rewarding thing I've probably done in my 11 years of producing outdoor content.
That's awesome.
And you know how sometimes the planets align?
Yeah.
It took us I think on the GPS, it took 4.7 miles, this stock on an antelope buck. But when you see the size of the buck, it's like jackpot, man. This is, awesome. It couldn't have worked out any better.
The guy probably won't come down from that experience for quite some time.
Probably not. And he deserves that and everything else he gets in life.
Well, and that's the best part. Now he'll be able to, he has that memory, he'll have that film, I'm sure. And then he'll have that on his wall at some point he can look back on whenever he's having a rough time with what he's going through and be like,
yeah,
that's it.
Yeah. He said, you know, this makes me feel normal again. And whatever I can do to help someone like that feel normal, count me in, man.
Yeah. I mean, we were just talking to Cam Haynes a little bit ago. He was getting us hyped up for elk season, and he, as only he can do, he got me like, I need to start doing some pull-ups in the studio. And he was saying, like, we're just so lucky to be able to do this stuff. And there's moments like that when you can pass that to somebody, especially those of us who get to do it kind of for a job or for a job, you know,
right?
Like that's
a
privilege.
And it's going with someone like that who has given so much to so many. And even now that he's back here, he's so interested in helping others, helping that person feel real again or have an experience that'll be one of those touchstones they can go back to. I just think about it. I get all excited and smiling. So,
and I've heard it articulated before where it's like, at some point in your life, it's going to be more rewarding to take other people out than to go yourself. I was like, I don't know that there needs to be a point in your life. It shouldn't always that way. Yeah. There may be a point in your life where you learned enough that you're ready to take someone else out. But there doesn't have to be a moment. No matter what you're doing, you should be able to help someone.
And I think that transition happens slowly where you don't even realize it. Yeah. Kind of like your knee going bad, you know, arthritic. It's like, wow, how did my knee get this bad? But right now, I'm at that point in my life where taking other people is by far more rewarding than my own hunting. And don't get me wrong, I'm pretty excited to go elk hunting this year and some of the other trips I have. But there's just something about those special times, those friendships, the relationships we build in hunting. It's just everyone listening knows what I'm talking about. Yeah. And as you get to a certain point, you just value that and yearn for that more than you quest for your own fulfillment.
Yeah. So. No, I find myself prepping. My he'll be 3 here in a little bit. I find myself prepping for that. Like when I'm hunting, I'm thinking of him being there. Yeah. You know, him being like 8 years from now. Him being there. What am I doing now that could transfer to that moment? Because that's way more important than any single thing that I might experience right now.
For sure. My wife says it many times that my son's now 29. When he left the house to go to college, she said, am I going to have to rent you a teenager or something? Because I just programmed myself for the prior probably 10 years. He was with me all the time when we were hunting. And it became so much just our relationship and how that interaction happens and the ups, the downs. And in hunting, you get to see people at their best and you get to see them at their worst. So it's a real character revealing opportunity when you go out hunting.
And I can't wait for that. Because you always try to describe it as this 3-dimensional experience that, like, if you hunted with somebody, your relationship with them is different than if you've just gone out and had a drink and some dinner with them or anything, really. Yeah. You have this, like, it's incredibly hard to do. Mm-hmm. And the success feels different than other successes. You know, if I write a good article, it's pretty insular. But if me and you and Phil go out and whack a big bull together and it took a 15-mile hike in and out to get there, like there's a brotherhood or, you know, sisterhood or whatever you would say. There's like a bond there, man. Mm-hmm. It's hard to describe.
Oh, absolutely. And I think of all my friendships that have been formed and strengthened through hunting experiences. Those are the people. I call them my foxhole friends. Yeah. When the artillery's coming in, I want them in my foxhole.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what's cool about this industry, man. You can walk around these trade shows and stuff, and it's work, but you're still like seeing people that you've had these crazy experiences with. Yeah. You know, I'll see guys like Cole Kramer be like, "Oh, dude, we got so many stories we can tell, man." So to revisit those things is unbelievable. But we were asking everybody, we were calling a bunch of people earlier,
and just asking them like to describe what an elk is. If an alien came down and landed and said, "What is that thing?" Like, how would you describe it? Because I've heard other more sharp people than myself describe it in many ways. But I also think people that live in New York City might know like the Yellowstone version of an elk, but there's a different version of that animal that you and I know, and folks that have pursued them intensely know. So how do you describe this thing?
Oh man, in so many ways. Whether you describe it physically, whether you describe it, what it represents. I suspect back in the old time of navigation, when sailors would look for the mermaids, in a lot of respects, the elk to a hunter is the mermaid. It's what you've dreamed about. It's what you've longed for, and it's in a lot of ways. It is really what you've dreamed of, but then there's also parts of your dream where it's not that. It's just, if you could put together a Frankenstein animal that has amazing scent capability, amazing escapement, adaptability to live in places that humans are just so subpar on that landscape. And then you could put it together in a big size of lots of unbelievable protein at the end. It's like the ultimate package to me. And I get that sheep hunting and other things are something, different and equally interesting. But I don't know if I could create an animal that has more intrigue, more appeal, more challenge than a public land elk.
Well, when you say it that way, like a sheep, for example, when you hunt a sheep, a big part of the allure is the country that they live in.
Yeah.
Because sheep if you're around them, they're fairly docile. Like they're spooky, but they're just hanging out. They're not doing a whole lot of interesting things. There's other things like whitetail, where it's the manipulation of the landscape. Sometimes that's the appeal. There's other things like antelope, where it's the spotting and stalking, or their eyesight. But with elk, it's the elk that is the appeal.
Yeah.
I feel like it's the animal that's the main attraction. It's not where it is or really anything else. And it's so hard to describe what that's like to be around them.
And especially the times of the year where we get to interact with them vocally.
Yeah.
There's very few hunts where you're interacting in a vocal manner the way that you are with a pissed off, rutting bull elk who says, "You know what? I'm going to come over there. I'm tired of you, pal. I'm going to hit you so hard your brother's teeth are going to fall out, man." And they come in, and it's not just the audio effect. It's the vibration. It's the intensity. You cannot have an encounter with a bull elk under 50 yards without your whole body feeling that experience.
It shakes your bones.
Yeah. And video does it no good. It does not do it justice at all. So as much as, I've never heard a sheep come and, threaten or come into a call, a whitetail, maybe, you'll get a little bit of grunting, but there's just so, and maybe I'm biased because I live here and I spend so much time chasing elk, but there is something about elk that when the creator said, we're going to make this magical animal that hunters are going to lose a lot of sleep over and spend billions of collective dollars pursuing and trying to develop gadgets and gizmos to improve their success, the creator made the wapiti.
The wapiti. Yeah, and I find that, like, in thinking about them and trying to stop, it's like it's a giant forest horse, as our friend Joe Rogan once said, or says often, with swords growing out of its head. Yeah. Those swords are like a vestigial bone growth that fall off every year and then come back bigger the older the animal gets, most times at least. And so, like, even to describe that version of it is pretty insane. And then what we do as hunters is talk to them using their language. We manipulate their language to make them feel like we are one of them. Like, that it's just to describe that to someone that doesn't understand the concept is insane to me.
Yeah. And the other beauty, I think, of elk is their adaptability across landscapes, where in my lifetime, they have become an animal of the average person that whitetail were when I was growing up. When I was growing up, elk were something that only those of privilege or geography or finances had as a realistic dream. Now, there's no hunter in America who cannot reasonably set their sights on the idea of a public land elk hunt.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and all that together. And what more could you add to elk and elk hunting to improve it?
And I grew up on the East Coast. I had a lot of friends back there that see elk, and I did as a kid. I saw elk as this mythical creature.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you start to realize, well, elk are native to Maryland,
yeah,
to the mountains of Maryland where I grew up hunting.
Yeah.
It's been a few hundred years since they've been there.
Yeah,
but the eastern elk is native there, right. and they at some point in the Green Ridge Mountains where I grew up hunting tried to reintroduce elk, much like they did in Pennsylvania. They got turned down, but you realize once you understand public lands and really what you're all about and what this company too is all about, that is this magical thing that's accessible to anyone should they want to listen to what you have to say or find someone to mentor them and get them there. It's not that far away.
No,
it's really not.
It is within the grasp of anyone who desires to do it.
Yeah. So what's there? You were talking earlier about 6 years of 6 years of failure.
6 years of failure that now being able to reflect on it 20 years later was the best learning experience I could have ever had to become an elk hunter. I always thought it was that time where media was starting to emerge, and I consumed every piece of media I could about elk hunting, and most of them were focused on selling some new item. This will solve your problem. Well, I got really frustrated because I moved to Bozeman, and I was lucky my wife said, I want to move there. We came here on our honeymoon, so here we go. In 1989, we came here on our honeymoon, and obviously killing an elk became my it occupied my all waking thoughts.
O'Reilly Auto Parts are in the business of keeping your car on the road. O'Reilly Auto Parts offer friendly, helpful service and the parts knowledge you need for all your maintenance and repairs. If you're confused about what part you need, like what wipers are going to be the best, what replacement headlights are going to be the best, go into O'Reilly and talk to the people that work there, because they're great and they're super friendly, and they'll get you squared away where you walk out knowing you got the right thing. They've got thousands of parts and accessories in stock, either in-store or online, so you never have to worry if you're in a jam. Do you need your windshield wipers replaced? You need a brake light fixed? You need some quick service? They'll help you find the right part or point you to the nearest local repair shop for help. The professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts are your one-stop shop for all things auto do-it-yourself, and you can find what you need in-store or online. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts today or visit us at O'ReillyAuto.com/MeatEater. That's O'ReillyAuto.com/MeatEater. There's nothing like snook hook sets at dawn or catching a tarpon in the moonlight. Find your next fishing trip made easy on fishingbooker.com and experience the magic of the Sunshine State or any other destination on your fishing bucket list. Book a blue water adventure in search of sailfish or go snapper fishing with the kids. With over 6,000 captains and trips to choose from, planning your next one just got a whole lot easier. Download the Fishing Booker app on the Google Play or App Store, or visit them online at fishingbooker.com to book your trip today. You ever get that feeling you're stuck inside staring at screens and a primal urge kicks in? You crave wide open spaces, fresh air, the chance to connect with the land. Well, maybe it's time to find your own piece of the wild, but searching for property can be a maze. That's where Land.com comes in. They got millions of listings across the country, from mountain ranches to hidden fishing holes. Their search tools are like a seasoned guide helping you narrow down what you want. Land.com isn't just about buying and selling. It's about finding a place to hunt, fish, explore, or simply sit by a campfire and listen to the crickets. So head over to Land.com today to turn one day into today, because trust me, there's nothing quite like the feeling of standing on your own piece of earth.
If anybody ever comes to Bozeman, you'll see that if I ever have a day where I'm really stressed out or tied up in something, and then I get going on the highway towards my house and I look over to the Bridger Mountains, I'm like, oh, elk live there.
Yeah.
And they're like right there.
Right.
So how could you not be tied up in?
Right. And so I spent 6 years doing every stupid thing you could think of, and then believing that if I bought enough gadgets, somehow that would bridge the gap to success. That did not work. Just cost me a lot of money. And I got to the point, well, if one is good, two is gooder. So I'd buy 2 or 3 of whatever that gadget was. I was the marketer's dream person. And finally I got frustrated and I sat down. I still remember this. It was, I don't want to say it's an epiphany. It was more out of frustration that I got to figure this out because it's driving me crazy. And I started thinking, well, growing up in northern Minnesota, I learned how to fish walleyes. It was so intuitive. Since I was a kid, I knew walleye fishing. I move out west, fish reservoirs for walleyes. Why can I catch walleyes pretty much anywhere, any place, any time of year? And I got to thinking, well, it's because I intuitively know a lot about walleyes. I know where they're at certain times of the year. I know what their needs are, and those needs drive where the walleye are going to be. So I wish I would have kept kind of sketches of my diagrams and flow charts, but I said, all right, I'm going to do the same thing with elk. What are their needs? So I get this book written by Jack Ward Thomas called Elk and Elk Ecology. It was out of print, and I started really promoting it. And I don't know if it's because I've treated it as the Elk Bible, but it's now back in print at the Wildlife Management Institute. Don't buy it on eBay because it's like $400. You can get it for $40 at WMI. So I read that book, and it goes into so much about what elk need. So I said, all right, here are their 4 basic needs: food, water, sanctuary, or survival, whatever you want to call it. And then a seasonal need of breeding. All right. That's going to, much like walleyes, that's going to drive them to certain places on the landscape at certain times of the year. So I come up with these 5 periods of elk hunting: early season, which is mostly August, pre-rut, peak rut, post-rut, and late season. And then I prioritize what are the needs in each of those 4 seasons. So I go through that whole exercise. I'm like, all right, Montana elk season opens this year in the post-rut period. I think sanctuary is their number 1 need in the post-rut period. I go down to this grizzly bear infested place where I know that there's not going to be a lot of hunting pressure. Opening morning, I shoot my first bull elk. I'm like, oh, why didn't I do that 6 years ago? And it's not like that was all of a sudden a ticket where every year you're going to kill a bull elk, but it opened my eyes that, Randy, you've been trying to shortcut this. You did not know enough about elk. And yeah, you had some bad luck along the way, but you didn't do your homework. You did not become a student of the elk. Since then, elk hunting has become so much easier when I treat it in that basic manner and break it down to the point that an elk has a need. An elk can't do anything randomly. The risk and the investment of their scarce resources to just randomly do things means you're going to die if you're an elk. So they do everything purposefully. So I got to think about what's the purposeful event or activity or time phase or seasonal phase that is going to cause an elk to be at a certain place, and where is that certain place?
Yeah, and because most of the elk you're hunting are in the wilderness, there's not as much conditioning happening, you know.
Right.
The whitetails are conditioned in different ways. We come in and build a house and they move.
Right.
But most elk, not all, of course, but most elk, especially in a backcountry setting, don't have that same stimuli.
Right.
Like they're not being conditioned to move. They're moving pretty freely in the landscape, so they're able to, develop habituate in that way.
And so once I broke it out in that manner, the other thing I realized is, and this is over years of people asking me questions because of just the accessibility of our media platforms, is the number 1 reason that I and others don't fill our elk tag is we have not figured out how to consistently find elk in the time frame that we have our tag, the season date, in the location that we have our tag for. And so I have to make that as simple as possible. And this is the accountant in me. Everything's got to kind of have a little checklist to it, right? And now that I've approached it from that standpoint, consistently finding elk is a whole lot easier. And don't get me wrong, I still have my days where it's like, where'd they go, man? They get wings and fly away, but I know they're here. And so for me, it's a very systematic approach, because when we go to a place, and very often we're going to a place we've never been to, we have 5 days. We get there, and I say we figure it out, sort it out, pack it out. That's what we got to do in 5 days. And when you do that, you can't rely on random luck. You better have a strategy, or at least a system that you fall back to when things get tough. And so that's 6 years. I can't even tell you how many lessons I learned in 6 years of failure. And the other thing it helped me with in elk hunting is very frustrating. Elk hunting is very difficult, very challenging. And you can have people, I think, that come to elk hunting with the belief that, oh, this is going to be like I saw it on a video.
Yeah.
No way. It is like really, really a challenge. And it allowed me, that 6 years of failure, I think, built a pretty big callus on my psyche about, get ready, Randy, this is tough stuff. You're going to get humbled. You're going to get defeated. You're going to get your ass handed to you. And I think that if there's a benefit of failing for 6 consecutive years, is that it really toughens your mental approach to it.
Well, and it, like you said, a callus on your psyche it's a great way to put it too, because you have to have that. And I'd like our mutual friend Hal Herring was describing it to me like learning a language. Yeah, it's like you have to, and that's what I feel like you're describing. Not only the language of the actual animal, but the language of the landscape. You got to learn a place like you learn a language. You got to start by learning, the most important words, and then on and on and on you go, and eventually you're fluent in that language, and you're able to walk out there, look at a landscape, and be like, elk are going to be right there.
Yeah. And I used to get mad when I didn't find elk. Now what pisses me off when I'm out there is if I screw up an encounter. But I don't get mad because I'm not having encounters. Every day it's back at camp in the tent. It's like, all right, what is going on? What am I missing? What am I not thinking about? What's different? Why am I trying to apply strategy B when really it seems like maybe I should be doing the strategy J? So every day that I don't have an encounter to me is another learning event.
Yeah.
But I do get pretty upset when we fumble.
You
do all that work, and then it's like, oh no, how would we let that slip through our fingers?
Well, we were talking about that in the office here, and me personally, just now moving to Montana, I really want to do it the slow way, like if that makes sense. Like wanting to understand, pick a valley, pick a drainage, pick it on my own. I don't want anybody to be like, oh, there's elk in this valley. Okay, great, that's fine, thank you. I'll go there at the end of the season if I'm just really hungry and don't have any elk meat. But like, I want to go to a place. I want to read it. I want to learn it. I want to find the elk and learn what they're doing, and then have that intellectual property for my own, so I can say that I've done that. If I don't do that, if I just grab a spot or a waypoint from one of the many folks in the office that have them, I don't know what I'll learn. I might learn elk behavior, maybe, but I'm not going to learn what I could if I just go after it, in a true do-it-yourself sense.
Yeah. And you probably get the same as I do. People are like, well, can you tell me where to go? Or can you give me a general location? And we don't ever do that. We say, we're trying to give you tools where you can analyze this, make effective decisions when you're out there. Because hunting in itself, and elk hunting especially, is, and I tell people, this is the best business tool you could ever have, is to be an elk hunter. You are bringing in volumes of information and you're processing it instantaneously, and you're making decision after decision. You may not realize it. And so the goal of what we try to do is provide information that allows people to do that process quicker and have better outcomes as they process this volume of information. You think about when you leave the truck in the morning, you're interpreting the thermals, you're interpreting hunting pressure, the temperature, the moon phase, the season of the year, what you smell from, have they been through here? You're interpreting rubs.
Read a track.
Yeah. Okay, the sun is going to do this during the day. If you sat and thought about every decision tree you have you just in one day of elk hunting, it looked like programming the space shuttle or something.
I mean, I just got back from failing at antelope hunting, and we failed for many reasons, weather among them, but like I had 2 good stalks, and within those stalks, like, I'm crawling, you're crawling, okay, get up here and draw, like, make range now. Like, don't even worry about ranging. You're too close. Like, those little decision trees it's just like, as someone who overthinks things, is interesting to me. Mm-hmm. Like, I find, like, I want to talk to people about, like, had I just laid there for 20 minutes instead of, like, jumped up and tried to fling one, who knows what would have happened? It's like the infinite possibilities of this stuff is intriguing to me.
Yeah, and for me, there's sometimes I get lucky too. I mean, in every endeavor in life, I don't care if it's fishing, hunting, or golf, skiing, there are some days you get more than you deserve, and there are some days you don't get what you feel you deserve. Yeah. And I try not to let the days where something falls on my lap make me feel like I got this figured out, because as quick as you do that, the next 3 trips, you're not going to see crap. And you're going to say,
and it's
I guess I don't have this figured out.
It's so hard. If you would boil down, and social media makes it even harder, I feel.
Yeah.
Because if you would boil down to the moments of failure felt by every elk hunter in this month of September, millions, trillions, maybe even. Like the moments where you're like, I fucked that up.
Yeah.
Trillions. I don't know how you could even count the number of moments of failure, but you can count the number of moments of success. Like we could go out and count those and be like, well, that's this many. And you see that on social media, you like get to capture just the moments of success. Mostly, some people are nice enough to be like, I failed. But so everybody's looking around, every new hunter's looking around like, wow, look at those 11 people killed elk last week on my feed. Yeah. Like, but that's those 11 people experienced hundreds of moments of failure.
Yeah, you forgot about the 990 others who didn't have success that week and ended up stomping and cussing and swearing and yelling at their bad luck.
Yeah, and I just think that, just social media, the way that it's set up, I think that's just what it is. It's not an accurate portrayal.
An interesting experiment we did on our YouTube channel is last year, my uncle, who's my age, we went to New Mexico. We drew these really cool tags, and we had 6 days of very high temperatures, really tough elk hunting. And we just showed, we're struggling, we're moving. We had this plan, it didn't work, And the number of people who've watched that is way more than I expected. And the number of people who've commented of, thanks for showing that not everybody ends up with an elk at the end. So I think for those of us who produce media, it's easy to get caught up in the always wanting to show the happy ending. But
I mean, what's real valuable? Showing a string jump or showing like showing something that happens just as often or more often than elk getting actually killed.
Yeah,
it's a funny dichotomy where we are now, where you're like, it's elk season, and sure enough, people are going to start killing elk, and they're going to show up there, and you're just sitting back thinking, I'm the worst.
Yeah, but
I'm the absolute worst.
I'm just, I'm like you were just saying, Ben. How is it that a kid who grew up in a little logging town in northern Minnesota, who dreamed of elk hunting someday, I thought I'd have to win the lottery to go elk hunting. I get to do it multiple times a year. What a country. That's all I can say. I live in the greatest country in the world, and I'm so grateful to be able to go and do that. I don't take it for granted.
It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
It doesn't. And I feel like, I was talking to my wife last week, and I was like, we should feel like we're the O'Briens. We should feel like pioneers. Now, we didn't come across in a covered wagon.
Didn't die of dysentery.
No, we went in a U-Haul truck, but still, like the O'Briens of Maryland have never come this far west. And I feel like I'm still not, I don't know that there's any part of me that takes that for granted, that knows that like this is even for my family, most of my family lives in one small area in Maryland. So it's like, even for that one very small example, like I'm doing something. But then you just, of all the people that can go hunting and have an opportunity to pursue elk multiple times a year and go all over and do these things, I mean, it's just it's a mind blower.
Yeah. If people would have let me craft my dream of my life when I was 14, when we're all thinking, oh, I'm going to be the, billionaire, I would have my mind couldn't even have went to what I have for a wonderful life today. And I think a lot of people, if they sat and thought about that, wow, I get to hunt elk out my backyard, or I get to this, or I mean, it's the good old days. If you're a hunter and you want to work at it and you make it your priority, today it is the good old days.
Yeah, we've been saying that a lot around here.
Yeah.
I mean, it really, really is.
Yeah.
And it is. I met, I think every time I'm at the airport, either coming home or picking someone up or whatever, I run into someone who either I know or knows me from this or whatever. That's like, I'm coming here I just ran into a guy last week, I think BHA, Pennsylvania. I think he was telling me, and he was here he's like, my wife and I are going to scout for elk. I'm like, you guys hunting? He's like, no, we just want to see some elk, and like next year I think we'll come. We're gonna stay in a fire tower, and we're just gonna be in Montana. And the only way we knew that is because people around BHA told us that this was possible, and now here we are. I'm like, good on you, man. Go out there and stomp it up. Like, that's what you should be doing.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just because of where I'm at age wise and the path I've traveled is. I'm very reflective about that stuff now, and I don't want to take it for granted. My wife is convinced that I want to spend every dime we have dying borderline penniless at the end and spend it all on hunting.
Yeah.
And
can't take it with you.
Yeah. And she, much to her credit, and I don't know how I deserve this, but she's encouraging me. She's like, you know what? You have no guarantees. No one has any guarantees. Go do it. All right, see you in 4 months, darling.
Yeah. Well, I'm at like my dad. It's funny. My dad, when he was at like my age now, because I find myself kind of bouncing back and forth in time these days. Like my dad took a lot of time off hunting when I was a young kid, and then my wife's pregnant with baby number 2, and like during the time when there were 2 little babies running around, my dad's like, I got to focus on this, and he has his own business, and took some time off of hunting. And then talking to my wife, he was like, no, you need to remain sane. You need to remain cogent. And like, you can't do that without hunting.
Yeah.
It's like this weird medicine that we have to have. If you don't have it, nothing works.
No, she used to, when she was trying to understand this hunting problem I had, she would say, I don't understand it, but you're a different person when you come home. So just go do it. Yeah. And then she started hunting, and she's like, okay, I get it now. And obviously when my son was in school and was at home, there's no way I would travel and be gone like I am now. So anyone listening, don't think that I'm advocating that you should be gone for 4 months and leave.
The kids will be there when you get back. That's fine. We can Skype them.
Yeah, don't bet on that.
No, but that's part of the reason, like if I move to Montana, I'm like, I could just run out and do a 2-day hunt and come back. Right. I don't have to leave for 10 days. So there's some beauty in the proximity piece, at least where I am in my life.
Yeah. But the beauty for me this year, we've got some amazing elk hunts that we're going to do. I'm going into a place I've driven by over 100 times probably, and I've always said someday I'm going in there. I got 4 llamas. I'm going in there this year. And then one of my other hunts is a place it's where I killed my first bull elk.
Wow.
I'm going in there with some friends. And it's a little bit of a nostalgia, kind of like when you go back to the little pond you grew up fishing bluegills on.
Catch a fish in
the it's so I'm going to be doing some of that. And then I'm helping. My mom has 6 brothers. Her two of her older brothers, I'm taking each of them on elk hunts this year. Wow. One to Wyoming, one to New Mexico. Really, really excited about that. And then me and Marcus at our office, we got cow elk tags in Wyoming. Mine's in either sex, but I think we're just going down there in December. It's cow elk time because we want to make cow elk hunting. Maybe I'm wrong in thinking there's a stigma about cow elk hunting, but I get that. Where I've developed that feeling that there might be is how many people say, well, it's only a cow.
That's it. Yeah.
When they say only a cow, I want to say, please don't say that. This is an unbelievable creature, an animal that has senses beyond what we will ever have. And yeah, they might be at times easier to tag just because of the way they've been forced into a landscape. They're on the margins of their habitat, the way that the cows have to conduct their daily lives, and the fact they maybe aren't subject to as much hunting pressure. Maybe it seems like they're a little bit easier. I want to make cow elk hunting cool.
Yeah,
that's our goal.
Cool again.
Yeah,
if it was ever cool. But yeah, I mean, I think that's when we talk about trophy hunting or like we lust after certain things in hunting. We just don't lust after that.
Right.
But it's, man, even it's not just utilitarian. It's still elk hunting.
Yeah, you think about all the purposes. It fills your freezer with amazing meat. It helps with conservation. It helps with wildlife management. It helps build your skills. It extends your season in a lot of instances.
You don't got to worry about taxidermy bills.
Yeah, yeah. There's just so many things.
It's a money thing, savings.
Yeah, and I feel that the content we produce, we've never shown a cow elk hunt. And I feel partly responsible for that. So and it's kind of like been this awakening. Oh, Randy, how did you get this far down the road without doing a cow elk hunt? You knucklehead.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we've been out on hunts where I've had a cow elk tag, but we have a guest hunter and it's more focused on making, the guest hunter's hunt what it could be. And I just came to the realization, you know what?
Yeah,
I'm going to show people that I get pretty excited about cow elk hunting. Don't take this wrong.
Any
folks.
elk hunting, yeah. I mean, I think it's a great way. When we always say like the way you're describing, it, like, oh, we'll take new hunters cow hunting because it's so easy and it's something. But depending on where you're going, it could be just as tough as finding a big bull.
Yeah,
I think you're just like you're less selective, but there's like some principles of wildlife management buried in there that you can better appreciate during a cow hunt. I mean, there's other things that you can focus in on that are just as important.
And whether I'm hunting antlered or antlerless animals, my number one priority for why I hunt goes back to when I grew up, food. Yep. So cow elk hunting, checks that box. Okay. I go there because I want to connect with the natural world. Okay, checks that box. All right. I like to see new places, whether it's a new little drainage near my home that I haven't hiked into, or it's Wyoming, a place I've not hunted there. It checks that box. All right. I'm contributing to the funding of wildlife conservation. It checks that box. It checks every box. Yeah. So I'm there.
It saves you on the taxidermy bill. You get the same amount of meat, basically.
Yeah.
You got to worry about like glassing them for is he a 6-point bull?
No, it's just okay.
It's a cow.
Yeah, that's a cow. Got bad news for you, babe. But you're going to get the victory lap home to Montana.
You're coming back to Montana. No, my dad very much like that. He reached out when earlier this year. Said, I want to come hunt elk, and I think I just want a cow. I'm like, why? What if it's an easier? He said, I don't know. I just want to start by shooting a cow.
Yeah.
And I think he's very much thinking the same way. I want to go out there and experience the animal and the landscape and not have to be worried about whether it's a 4-point bull or 6-point bull or whatever. I just want to go out there, bring the meat home, which is very important to him because there's no elk around where he lives, and start that way. Like it's a great way to kind of just focus on those things, forget about what's on top of the animal's head, and just go about your hunt that in that manner. I mean, that's a damn important way to experience it.
Oh man, I go do it, please go. I encourage everybody, whether it's your dad, whoever. Yeah, if that's what you want out of it, go do it and don't look back.
So yeah, and so you have a podcast with Corey Jacobson, Elk 101.
Yeah, Elk Talk.
Or Elk Talk.
Yeah, Corey's platforms are Elk 101.
His Elk 101.
Yeah,
which is amazing. His platform, Elk 101 platforms are amazing.
Yeah.
If you're a new elk hunter, that's a nice place to go.
Yep. And then the Elk Talk podcast, that was something that the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation had kind of been asking me, hey, you already do your Hunt Talk podcast. Will you do another one about elk? And I was on their board for 6 years. I'm like, look, when I get off the board, we'll do it, because sometimes I say and do things that I don't want. I don't want attributed to this great organization. You guys don't deserve the baggage I might bring to the process. So, Corey and I now let's see, I think we're on episode 33, 34, something like that. We've been doing it. It's a bi-weekly one that we put out, and we've been doing it a little over a year.
Yeah, it's a great podcast, and it's there's again, you could do 1,000 episodes on elk hunting and not cover it all.
Yeah.
I'm sure you get a lot of feedback. So I'm interested in your world. What are the things people are asking the most? You find that it's people that are asking those one-on-one questions the most, or your podcast is for every elk hunter, but I'm sure that there's different dichotomies and different people that are asking different things.
Yeah, we have a Ask Your Questions Here spot out on our website for the podcast, and a lot of the questions come from people that I'll say are somewhere at beginner to intermediate. And a lot of them just say, look, I've been hunting elk for 3 years, or I'm new to elk hunting or whatever. So I use that as the gauge. And the questions, again, are, and I see myself in a lot of these questions when I'm talking about that 6 years of failure. A lot of them are, well, I want to go buy this. What would you recommend? And a lot of times, if I have time to respond to them, I'll say, go buy a book, go do some research, go Google the Starkey Experimental Forest elk studies. You're going to get way more out of your time and money doing that than you are buying this doodad, which probably some of my sponsors are like, Randy, sell them everything, man.
They need 8 rangefinders, man.
Yeah. Come on. So, but I'd say those questions a lot are about the calling techniques. I think if there is a pinnacle to elk hunting, it is calling them. And Corey's the expert. So I defer most of those questions to Corey. And there's a lot of them, though, about just basic things of camp setup, or what do I do when I shoot one? I'm worried it's going to spoil. Things about, certain times of the year. Why am I not finding elk? I went and scouted them in July and they were everywhere. I came back in October and they aren't anywhere to be found. Well, because elk move across the landscape to satisfy their need at that time of year, and their need in July is different than their need in October. And so I read those questions and every one of them seem like, yeah, I've been there, I've done that, I've made that mistake, or I've had that struggle or that challenge. So for he and I, it's really helpful to get those questions. We read them all, but when you're getting hundreds of them, you can't reply to them all. So we take them and we categorize them into certain topics, and then we do a podcast on it. Like we just did a podcast last week that's about how do I take care of an elk in the hot seasons of August and September. Okay, here's what we do. The podcast earlier in August that we did was strictly about cow elk hunting. It's an hour and a half of cow elk hunting questions. And so we take those those listener questions and we put them in a bit of an outline, but I'm not good at outlines. I mean, kind of like you, Ben. I see what your outline is. You don't even have one.
I don't even, no.
So we try to do that. Surprisingly, there are fewer gear questions than I thought there would be.
O'Reilly Auto Parts are in the business of keeping your car on the road. O'Reilly Auto Parts offer friendly, helpful service and the parts knowledge you need for all your maintenance and repairs. If you're confused about what part you need, like what wipers are going to be the best, what replacement headlights are going to be the best, go into O'Reilly and talk to the people that work there, because they're great and they're super friendly, and they'll get you squared away where you walk out knowing you got the right thing. They've got thousands of parts and accessories in stock, either in-store or online, so you never have to worry if you're in a jam. Do you need your windshield wipers replaced? You need a brake light fixed? You need some quick service? They'll help you find the right part or point you to the nearest local repair shop for help. The professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts are your one-stop shop for all things auto do-it-yourself, and you can find what you need in-store or online. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts today or visit us at O'ReillyAuto.com/MeatEater. That's O'ReillyAuto.com/MeatEater. There's nothing like snook hook sets at dawn or catching a tarpon in the moonlight. Find your next fishing trip made easy on fishingbooker.com and experience the magic of the Sunshine State or any other destination on your fishing bucket list. Book a blue water adventure in search of sailfish or go snapper fishing with the kids. With over 6,000 captains and trips to choose from, planning your next one just got a whole lot easier. Download the Fishing Booker app on the Google Play or App Store, or visit them online at fishingbooker.com to book your trip today. You ever get that feeling you're stuck inside staring at screens and a primal urge kicks in? You crave wide open spaces, fresh air, the chance to connect with the land. Well, maybe it's time to find your own piece of the wild, but searching for property can be a maze. That's where land.com comes in. They got millions of listings across the country, from mountain ranches to hidden fishing holes. Their search tools are like a seasoned guide helping you narrow down what you want. Land.com isn't just about buying and selling. It's about finding a place to hunt, fish, explore, or simply sit by a campfire and listen to the crickets. So head over to land.com today to turn one day into today, because trust me, there's nothing quite like the feeling of standing on your own piece of earth.
That was one of my questions, because here we get every once in a while, you don't talk enough about gear, but I don't know that that's this platform or your platform or the way that we approach the thing, or is that just there's more to know and more to learn. And once you've elk hunted a little bit, you understand that knowing the animal, knowing the landscape, knowing how to take care of the meat, understanding how to call, those things are first and foremost.
Right. Those are paramount to, once you've got a good grasp on that, then start worrying about the equipment stuff. Yeah. And I know my sponsor are like, Randy, wait a second.
Damn it, Randy.
Yeah. But that's really how I feel about it. And so, if you span the whole width of those questions, I was surprised that fewer of them are about equipment than I probably would have expected. And we don't get a lot of questions from people who say, I've hunted elk for 20 years. What about this? And I don't know if that's part of the male ego. And I shouldn't say male, but the hunter's ego, where we're just not good at saying, I've been doing this 20 years. I still can't figure it out.
I can't imagine that I'll ever have a time where I'm done asking questions.
Me either. I make so many stupid mistakes. It's just laughable. You'd think, all right, Randy, you've been doing this how long? And I still make so many stupid mistakes, and is what it is.
That's what it's about. Being willing to make all those mistakes until you finally figure it out.
Yeah,
not giving up.
And one of the other things that, if the benefit of having done it for a number of years is, I'm more comfortable conducting what is probably a laughable experiment, and accepting that, this probably isn't going to work. But every once in a while, you do one of those experiments that someone on the outside is going to say, that's the dumbest thing I think I've ever seen an elk hunter do. And it worked. And they're like, kind of puff your chest out. Like, yeah, see,
I'm a trailblazer.
Yeah.
Randy Newberg. Change the show name.
Yeah. But that podcast, I would say the topics the majority of them are listener driven.
Yeah. And that's good. And listening to it, it's clear, because it's clear that there's a feedback loop that's happening. It's not just you guys talking about whatever it is you want to talk about. So it's funny to me, because we get that here too. How that affects the way you hunt, or how that affects the way you think when you're hunting. The process of wanting to be able to answer those questions changes your own way of thinking about hunting when you're out there. Yeah. Like, I better do this in a way where I can articulate it to somebody else.
Yeah, and we try to interject a little bit of our personalities in it. Corey's an engineer by training, and I'm an accountant by training, so you'd think, man, that's going to be the most boring thing in the world. But for me, I got certain issues that really are part of the reason I hunt elk, is because it's also grouse season. Which this year I'm happy here in Montana. I'm here the first 2 days of grouse season.
Oh yeah,
and elk season's not open, so I'm going grouse hunting Sunday and Monday.
Sunday. Yeah. We got a grouse hunt planned.
Yeah, I shut down everything for grouse, even grouse elk, and it drives Corey nuts.
I love grouse.
We'll be hunting together, and there's a grouse, and I'm just like a dog that smelled something.
I love seeing a grouse, man. I love hearing. I love it. Yeah. I love hearing them. I love seeing them.
So we try to interject some of those kind of quirkinesses of our personalities. And this year, Corey is the expert on calling elk, and that's usually archery season. He's coming up to Montana. Him and his buddy Donnie Drake, they're coming up, and we're going on a rifle hunt. And they're like,
what do we do with this?
Yeah. Like, Corey,
we see him and then we just shoot him?
Yeah, you're not going to call him in. But the good part is, when you find him, you don't got to get him within 40 yards.
He's going to be a putt-putt course of the feeling for that.
Yeah. But I guess one of the things that'd be interesting is what you guys get for elk questions and feedback. Is it
Yeah, I mean, I think we just started a podcast with Remi Warren where we went through some real, what I would consider deep dive calling strategies. What he calls dogging elk, which is just if you got a bull that's bugling and pushing his cows away from you, you're gonna essentially run, catch up with him, get above him, call to him, piss him off, and get him charged in at you. And as it's guys like Remi and Corey and yourself that like have enough, especially Remi as a guide. When your job is to make an elk come close, so somebody can get a shot at it, and you do that every year, and that's your job. You have, and from spending time with Remi, helping him produce that podcast, I've learned, that he speaks that language because he's not doing his job if he hasn't obtain that ability, which he has. So, and in doing that, we've still seen, we just launched the first of a 3-part with him. We've still seen a lot of one-on-one questions that come in, even in what I would say like is an advanced tactic that he's covering there. And so I know that our audience, like a lot of times we're talking about thought processes and ideas and just kind of having intellectual debates. But when we get into the actual nuts and bolts of hunting, it really comes down to a lot of people wanting to know where to start. And where to go and how to understand what this even is. And that really comes back to like some things that we might take for granted that we have to step back and say, listen, if we're going to write a how-to thing, it can't be how to dog elk or, how to call an aggressive herd bull off his cows. It can't be that really. We'll provide that. But a lot of what people want is how to get started elk hunting. What are the best states for elk hunting? Yep. Once I draw a tag, what do I do now? How to draw tags? What is a tag? Yeah. Those types of things.
I would say drawing tags is one of the big questions we get. So that's why last winter during what we call tag season, we covered every Western state. Here's how you get a tag. And then I've done a bunch of content already this summer of, okay, you didn't draw a tag. Here's a bunch of over-the-counter options. Because I'm a firm believer, if you live in the United States and you're able to save a couple $1,000s in your budget every couple of years, you should go elk hunting at least every other year. There's an opportunity and a place for you to do that. And I feel that's part of the information that I want to get out there is to let people know you can go do this. And once you start doing it, it's, the needle's in.
And then it's over. Yeah, we were talking about the private land, public land kind of debate as much as it is a debate or it isn't. At least the difference between the two cultures. I'm a private land hunter. I own my own property, or I lease a property with some buddies, whatever that might be in the South and the East, where that's prevalent. I'm just saying, guys, if you're on a lease in Louisiana for deer hunting with 4 people, if you pool your money together and everybody puts in like $700, you can all get in the truck and drive to Colorado and go elk hunting every year.
Yeah.
And so it's not that there's literally no difference between the cultures. It's just what are you willing to do?
Right.
And so you go to Fresh Tracks, you go to your YouTube channel, you go to your social, you come to this platform, whatever you need to do. Go find the information and go and do it because the access is there, the tags are there. And so there really is, to me, no difference between I've had lease properties in Maryland and Illinois and Texas.
Yeah.
There's no difference. It's just like what do you want to do? What's the version of hunting that you desire? And like you said, once you start when I lived in Texas, the whole Texas BHA chapter, that all they did was go to Colorado and elk hunt. That was because you're like, why do you have a public lands group in Texas? And they're like, well, we just go. Yeah. We all get together and go west.
And I tell people, if you have access to private land, you're a fool if you don't take advantage of it.
Of course. Of course.
Go do it. Yeah. And but
of course.
I mostly want people to go hunting, and I want them to experience elk hunting. And if you read the why of our platforms, when we started in 2008, the why is to promote self-guided public land hunting and create advocates for that cause. There is no type of activity I know of that creates advocates to a deeper level than chasing elk out on your public lands. If you want to create a public land advocate, a hunting advocate, get them out chasing elk on the public lands for the first 2 or 3 times in there. It's just like I was when I first started hunting elk. It's a eye-opening, just deer in the headlights look, but it's oh man, why did season close? I needed another 2 months. And then your spouse.
Then they're calling Randy up at night. It's 2 a.m. Randy, they're like crack addicts. Randy, I got the elk shakes. Can you blow a cow call into the phone?
I know. It's like, yeah, you do almost have this withdrawal period. But that, for me, elk hunting is the best way to create advocates for public lands and for hunting. And that's why we do a lot of it.
And here's something that I've found. I wanted your perspective on it, that people come to that moment in a lot of different ways. Some people might come to it. I've had a lot of people on this podcast. Some, Brooklyn natives that barely ever leave the city, that just have like a wanderlust and don't even understand what it is. Don't really appreciate the natural world, haven't spent much time in it. They don't have this connection that they're trying to fulfill. They're curious. They wonder what might be out there. So if you take them and you set them down and you show them that experience, they're going to be blown away. There may be other people that just haven't been around a culture of hunting, but they do love the natural world. They do love birds. They do love this. They do love landscapes and large predators and all those things. So there's different ways to get people to the point you're talking about. No matter what happens next, they're going to be advocates.
Right.
But I mean, you've taken a bunch of new hunters out there. How do you find that they get to that point? Because I've taken urbanites that never even thought about what a javelina is, and then next thing they know, they got their crosshairs on the front shoulder of one.
Yeah.
And I've taken people who are like taxidermists, but who just don't hunt, who understand the animals and understand the landscape, and they come into it differently. So I'm sure that you have examples of perspective on just like how people get to that moment. Yeah. Because there's a lot that goes into it.
And we get so many requests and questions about that. Hey, I've been watching your stuff, or I'm really interested in the food aspects. I really love being out in these wild places. Can you help me? How do I get to hunting? And it is very daunting for someone who, I think those of us who grew up in a hunting culture or hunting families, we take for granted what we were learning via osmosis as we were youngsters. By the time we're 12, we know we're handy with a compass. We know how to take care of an animal. We know the difference between gauges and calibers. And I mean, we talk in a language that to the outsider, you would swear we were speaking some newly invented language.
Like when I was 13 years old, you could hand me like a buck folding 110 hunter knife, and I would get it out of the sheath. I would take it out, and I'd be like, "Where's the deer?"
Yeah,
and I would go, and we could gut the deer. But you could take a 35-year-old from any urban setting and hand them a buck knife, and they wouldn't know what to do.
Yeah, and so one of the things I've realized is we do, we in the hunting world we talk about recruit, retain, and reactivate. That's R3. We do a pretty good job of recruiting because we're running 600 to 750,000 new hunters through Hunter Ed every year. Where we're falling down is retaining, because if you take those Hunter Ed graduates, within 5 years, we've lost about 90% of them in many instances. So the International Hunter Education Association came to me and said, hey, can you help us produce content that it might seem overly basic to you and your audience, but the number one hurdle that we think why we're losing these hunters, and some of them don't ever buy their first license, but if they buy their first license, you lose more who don't buy a second or a third. The number one reason they feel that we're losing them is lack of information. The hurdles are so high and nobody's out there providing information to lower those hurdles. So in early August, they launched their platform. It's called Hunters Connect. It's an Instagram page. It's a YouTube channel. And if anyone, this is a selfless plug on their behalf.
No,
if anybody is listening to this and wants to go share information that's basic, but it's helpful for new hunters who didn't have the benefit of us, that you and I and others. I hope they go check it out, because
I hope so too.
It's an effort to really shore up where we're falling short. We're reactivating well, we're recruiting well, but retaining. And retaining is providing opportunity, and there's some good groups out there doing mentorship programs and stuff like that, but that's not as scalable as you'd like it to be. But information, a lot of these people that we're talking about, that we mentioned, who are coming to hunting, they're accustomed to consuming information digitally. What do? Google it. Oh, get a YouTube video. How do I, change the oil in my rig? Oh, watch a YouTube video for a lot of them. So we're trying to use those existing media consumption platforms where they're already at, they're already comfortable. let's get it out there. Let's get them information that lowers these hurdles.
Yeah. And that's you know, we make media. You do, I do, this company does. It could be seen as competitive, but not to me in this case. This is like, I'm here. You know, I'm here for a lot of reasons, but the number one reason is because hunting has done something for me that nothing else in my life has done, and I want more people to have that.
Yeah.
And whatever I got to do to make that happen, it's gonna happen for me because I'm gonna push it.
Yeah. I mean, my business card, Ben, says Randy Newberg, hunter. It used to say, CPA.
Yeah.
And I'm proud of that business card, man. That was my goal in life.
That is the ultimate business card.
Yeah. I hand it to people, they look at it and they're like, oh man, I wish I would have thought of that. And I can't take credit for it. One of my CPA clients got tired of never being able to get a hold of me in hunting season. So I come back to the CPA firm one time and there's a note from her and she crossed out CPA and wrote hunter. I'm like, we got it.
We did it.
Jackpot. I've reached the pinnacle in my career.
It's beautiful gold lettering.
Yeah. So, but no, I'm with you. I feel that so much has been given to me from hunting and by those who built the hunting culture and hunting traditions and the conservation models. I feel a responsibility. What can I be doing? How do I carry that on? And I'm producing media that has a lot of information and inspiration. Maybe I don't have much inspiration, but my theory is if you're going to influence people to act a certain way or to become an advocate for something, you need information and you need inspiration. Yeah. And I try to do some of that. I'm not the most inspiring guy, but
I mean, what you do is you make it relatable. You know,
I hope so.
Because these things are hard things to do. Mm-hmm. Killing an elk on public land with a bow is incredibly hard to do, and even more infinitely hard to do if you have to repeat it every year.
Yeah. So all those people on their Instagram feeds who are saying, well, I want to be that person with that bull elk that I put an arrow through. Understand that there's 95 people. For every 5 you see, there's 95 who didn't. Yeah. So just keep some perspective there.
Keep that in mind. It's hard for all of us to keep perspective in the internet age, but it is an important perspective. And I think it's harder for, the younger generation, the one prior to, the one coming after me, to have that proper perspective and to not want to microwave this thing. Mm-hmm. And I think that might be a lot of times why things aren't retained. And we talk about the retention of hunters. We tend to, as a society, kind of lean toward the microwavable. Like, what's the easy? I would love to get wild meat, but I don't want to have to spend years and years failing before I get my first taste. So I think it's when I see people talk about the field to table movement, I'm like, yes, all of these like little micro movements within hunting are important, but there is something more important to it. That it is to me one of the ultimate challenges in life. And you prove things to yourself. You prove things to the people around you. You just become better for it. And it's one of those things that if you're out there and you're thinking, I got my license, but I just don't have the time or the money or the energy to do this, I'm telling you, you'll probably drop off if you don't take that next step real quick.
Yeah.
But if you do, you might be like Randy and I, like self-identify. Like, I'm a father, I'm a husband, I'm a hunter. What else you need?
Right. Yeah. And that's why I always, when people ask me about elk hunting, I always start with the story of 6 years of failure, because I want those new elk hunters to understand that it's not like you wake up one day and you've got 30 years of elk hunting experience under your belt. Some people will shoot one the first morning and drove out and there's one standing above the trailhead. That does happen. But I try to bring that reality to it and make it sound as valuable of an experience as I can, because it was. Now I would not trade those 6 years of failure for anything, because it's made the path after that so much more rewarding.
That'd be
a
great book too. Just 6 years of failure.
When I walked in here, Ben, the FedEx guy dropped off a whole pallet full of new meat eater cookbooks. You guys had the chain gang out there.
Oh, were they doing it? Yeah, they were chain ganging it,
loading them in there. Yeah. And I told them, I said, well, I don't have to worry about that. I can't even read, let alone write. So no.
Well, a lot of us here, the ones that can't read, are the ones that have to carry the books. Renell is cracking the whip on us, having to carry the books around here. But that's it, man. I mean, that book has been everywhere I travel. I was in Wyoming last weekend. at a guy's place, and I just walked in and, where you work? And I told him, and he just like, he didn't even say anything. He ran into another room and grabbed the Meat Eater cookbook and ran out. He's like, look, man, look. I was like, cool. He was excited to show it off.
Well, I don't know how many of them Steve's got an autograph out there, but he's going to have a writer's cramp.
He's got it. Yeah, he wears like a little brace.
Oh, really? He needs like a stamp.
He does. He sits out there. That sucker sits out there and signs every single one of them too.
Well, I know he's left-handed. He's going to have to learn how to sign with his right hand.
Oh yeah, we were shooting sporting clays yesterday, and he was all the ones where like the left-handed runs. He was killing us on. You could see the clay coming. I'm like, that one of the few things about being a lefty that is advantageous.
Yeah.
What's you mentioned the elk and elk ecology book that you came up with. If I think we could end on a nice as we kind of meander through this topic. What are the resources out there? You mentioned Hunters Connect. RMEF is definitely, if I want to go elk hunting, what are let's just kind of codify some resources for people that are outside of our platforms and things that are just there for everybody.
Yeah. I mean, I'd like to say that my stuff is
yours. Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, if you haven't been consuming my stuff, no, not really. Most everything
that goes without saying.
Yeah. But no, I use that book by Jack Ward Thomas, former chief of the Forest Service, but at the core, an elk hunter and a biologist, PhD, prolific writer. His book, Elk and Elk Ecology, you can get that out at the Wildlife Management Institute. It's a heavy read, but if you're going to be an elk hunter, this book has so much in there that you need to understand about what an elk needs at a certain time of year, why it's different in an alpine environment versus a pinyon juniper environment versus a grassland environment. All that stuff it's there. The Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation and the Forest Service have this collaborative partnership in Oregon on the Starkey Experimental Forest. The research that comes out of that forest, and I'm talking articles going back into the 80s, is unbelievable stuff. Again, it's a bit of a difficult read. I don't know what it is about scientists. They're worse than accountants.
They're worse than accountants. They want us to have all the information for some reason.
And they want to talk in a language no one understands. I mean, they use Latin. I mean, what the hell? If it wasn't for Google, I wouldn't know half this stuff. But so if you're a speed reader, read the introduction of their studies and read the conclusion. Don't worry about all the methodology stuff. You don't need to know. That was all peer reviewed by other big brain people. That information is really helpful. The BLM and the Forest Service have some amazing research stuff about forage and forage competition because they have domestic cattle allotments. And so they have to do analysis of how is domestic grazing affecting wildlife. Well, in those studies, there's a whole bunch of information there about the preferred forages of elk at certain times of the year and how do they have to manage the grazing allotments to accommodate that. So if you go through and pick through all that, you're going to have a ton of stuff. And then the state game agencies, they have all kinds of amazing studies. It depends on what state you're hunting. They have interactive maps. They have
there's flyover studies almost every year. You get access to that stuff, and year by year kind of where these elk are. Yeah. And so those are things that.
So for me, all those resources I just mentioned are about becoming a student of elk, and I feel like I'm just such a novice about my understanding of elk, even after 30 years of researching and reading and trying my darndest to know more about them. I'm kind of a hack, but you give me a Google search on elk. If you went to my Google history, the number of elk searches is probably way higher than anything else. And the number of articles I read, and sometimes I save them and I reread them. It's an investment. No matter what you want to try to be above average at, you better make an investment in it. I mean, why are there golf clinics? Why are there, clinics for how to teach people to fly fish or whatever it might be, investment clubs? If you want to be above average, you're going to make an investment in whatever that activity is.
Yeah. And just imagine that it can be a chicken or the egg thing. You can go experience it with a mentor and then get so excited about that experience that you devote your time to it, or do it the other way around. Know that that's something you desire to do, and prior to taking a step out there in the elk woods, you're going to do that research. Either one of those is fine, but just know that somewhere along the way in the process, if you devote yourself to being what Randy says as a student of these things,
yeah,
I
guess
be so better off.
If there's a couple thoughts I'd leave people with, it's that I said this earlier, elk don't do anything randomly. Everything elk do is purposeful. They have a certain need at every time of year, and they're going to go across the landscape to satisfy that need. So if you want to find them and to tag one, you got to find one. You need to understand what that need is at that time of the year and where on the landscape they can fulfill that need, because that's where they're going to be.
Yeah, that's huge. That's huge. Well, Randy, you're a legend.
In my own mind.
In my mind.
Oh man!
Thanks for coming. You got a lot of hunting to do. You got to take. You got 4 days of kind of like a respite before you go.
Yeah, I'm. I'm going to be out at the range doing the fine tuning tomorrow, and then I'm going to be packing all day the next day, and then it's trajectory across the west.
Just for my own, this is a question for my own benefit. What archery site do you shoot? I've been fumbling around with different ones lately.
I have a black gold Montana. It used to be Montana black gold. It's called black gold Ascent. It's a slider.
It's a slider. Is it a single pin or like multiple pins?
I have 3 pins, 20, 30, 40. And I used to have 50, but in the last few years, I've had this vision issue of, we all start wearing reader glasses. Yeah. And I realized, you know what, Randy, my comfort level at 50 is not what it used to be. So I archery hunt to get closer anyhow. So let's get rid of that 50-yard pin. And all my old bows, I had a slider tape on there because it's like, well, you hope that you only need one arrow. But I always thought, well, if I hit one and it was still standing out there at 70 yards, I could roll my slider to 70 and maybe I could get another expiring shot in it. But I even got rid of the tapes.
It's too alluring. You're like, oh, I think I can make this.
Yeah. And last year was my first year doing that. I had a bison tag last year, archery bison. Ended up getting fortunate and taking that bison. Got to 43 yards and I was comfortable with that shot. So for me, those black gold products, I've been using them. I mean, they've been based here in Bozeman area forever. Mike Ellig started the company, and I knew Mike. Oh man,
I asked that because I'm boomeranging back and forth between like I fixed pins for the longest time in my life. Then I went to a single pin spot hog site where I just have the dial. Now I'm at the hog file that has the two pins and the single post. And I've been boomeranging back and forth like, what really am I trying to do here? Can I shoot to 80 yards? Sure. Yeah. Have I practiced that? Sure.
Yeah.
What am I really doing? We talk about ethics a lot. You do, I do on this show. So it's just something that in this last archery antelope hunt, it seemed like it was like a 50-yard buffer for every antelope that I crawled up on. And I just was thinking about what, for me with archery, how am I going to start to better define, the tactic and going back. And I think I'm going to go back to fixed pins for that reason. So I can really give myself like, this is where, you talk about efficacy. This is where it is for you. And, you could certainly kill things at 80 yards if you really, but there's just too many variables. And there's too many things that can happen. Yeah. For me.
So that's why I've went to just 20, 30, 40. And with every piece of equipment I own, Ben, I'm the weak link in the equation. Yeah. And that's why tomorrow I'm out at the range most of the day. I'm just trying to make my weak link a little stronger. Yeah. And I'm like, when I drove by your house, I did see some 3D targets in the backyard.
I do. Yeah. I've got an elk out there.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, here's a good story.
I told Marcus we were going to come hijack your elk and we're going to do an Instagram thing about, I don't know if you have a name for it, where's Waldo the Wapiti or whatever.
Where's Waldo? Well, I'll name him Waldo just for you. That way, if you ever steal him. There's also there's a hog and a javelina back there. Too,
I did see those too. But
so I've had neighbors walk by and be like, hey, are you building a diorama? Well, what do you think I'm building a tiny Yellowstone diorama in my backyard? Like, that's one way to look at it. Right. I'll just tell you in case you ever want to come shoot, 60 yards to the sidewalk in front of my house. Yeah. Okay. So if you stand on the sidewalk,
Mhm.
60 yards to the elk. It's perfect.
Okay.
It's perfect.
Yeah, I'm lucky. My neighbor lets me walk across the street and stand right on the boundary of their ditch, and I got 75 yards there. And I'd never shoot at 75 yards, but it sure makes life easier when you walk up to 30 after you've been shooting 70.
Oh yeah.
And it's like
When I put that elk up and I walked over, I was like, "Is this as far as I could shoot on the sidewalk border of my property?" Oh, okay, 60 yards, perfect, right here at the edge. Like that.
Yeah.
It couldn't be meant to be. There's my that is my ultimate range for the rest of time.
Well,
as long as I'm
let
living
me
here.
know when you're having your big shoot. I'll show up and
I will.
I won't. I'll bring a lot of arrows because
We'll get a ton.
I arrow companies love me.
They
because
love me too. I've got to build like some sort of barrier.
Yeah.
Might get a metal detector.
Well, they love me for a couple of reasons. One is I'm still stupid where I'll shoot the same arrow or multiple arrows at the same spot on the target. But then also I have no hesitation about ruining a $30 broadhead and arrow for a grouse.
Nope.
If somehow I ran out of field tips or judo points, that's what broadheads are for.
Do
Broadheads
you
are
carry
my
a
back.
judo point when you're elk hunting?
Oh,
Just for that
yeah.
reason? Of course you do.
Oh, yeah.
Hell yes.
Yeah, I carry one in my quiver, and then I usually have 2 or 3 judo points that I could screw in if I needed to. I carry those in
See,
my
I
pack.
got some of those. I'm gonna have to screw them on my arrows this year.
Yeah, I just bought some. Is it Montec makes these small game heads, like a little triangle, looks like the claw coming at you. So I'm gonna try those.
Those things like they go out when you let the arrow go, right? They like spring out, or
these are a smaller, like full aluminum type pointy. It's like a trident that is twisted, and I'm a
G5 fan. No, they're not.
Are you?
Yeah,
Okay.
Nobody's paying me to say that. It's Striker, Montec. I've killed lots of stuff.
They're made by Montec or G5 or whoever it is, whatever the brand, the company name is. So I'm going to be trying those on grouse.
All right, we better let you go. We could probably do this all day.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Randy.
Thanks
Appreciate
for
it,
all
brother.
you do. Yeah, appreciate it.
I guess I grew up on an older road.
That's it. That's all. Episode 77 is now in the books. Thank you to Randy Newberg, a legend. Phil's coughing. Phil, you all right?
Yeah, that LaCroix can sneak up on you.
Yeah, that really gets you. LaCroix, that's hard stuff, Phil. That's a hard beverage. What flavor do you go with there, Phil?
That's lime.
Lime?
Classic.
What's your favorite LaCroix? LaCroix?
I'll get on mic here. I'm a big fan of just kind of the OGs, the lime, the pamplemousse, the grapefruit
The pamplemousse?
Pamplemousse.
The hell is wrong?
Look at the can. It says pamplemousse, man. It's French.
Are you making that up?
Nope. That is
Pamplemousse.
true. Check it. We got some in the fridge. Check it out.
I'll check out the pamplemousse.
Yeah.
They'll probably dump that down the sink. Is it good? What's it taste like?
Tastes like pamplemousse.
What's pamplemousse taste like?
It's a grapefruit in French. It's just grapefruit.
Why can't we say grapefruit? It's America.
Yeah, I think they're trying to be like Canadian or something like that.
LaCroix. Listen, this is probably, I wasn't planning on talking about this, but now that we're here, Phil, this is a good time to talk about White Claw.
Oh, speaking of,
Yeah.
today, we normally get cupcakes for birthday festivities, but instead we got 4 cases of White Claw.
Holler!
For the August birthdays.
It's elk season, baby, but it's
Woo!
always White Claw season. White Claw season never goes out of style. Yeah, listen, I gotta come clean on something here. You people, I love you guys. I love you listeners. It's like we're one family. It's like it's like thousands of us are just all a family.
Would you call it a collective?
Yeah, it's like a collective family of hunters. It's almost what it's like. And I feel like you're sending me too many White Claw memes. Stop it. Stop sending me the White Claw memes.
Counterpoint. I'd say keep them coming.
Keep them coming.
Yeah.
Keep them coming.
Yeah, this is good. This is good material.
I mean, my Instagram DMs are just full of White Claw memes.
I can tell
all
you're
the
getting
time.
sick of them because you were very excited about reposting them in your
Originally,
stories.
yeah. Now it's just too many of them.
Yeah.
I can't.
You can't keep up.
When somebody makes like a corn on the claw flavor, I get that 10 times, 15 times, maybe 20 times. If somebody does like a claw flavored Pop-Tart box, I get that.
Yep.
If somebody does a Steve Austin meme, if I get that fucking Steve Austin meme one more time where he's like ashamed that I drink White Claw, I'm going to find Steve Austin and we're going to get at it.
It's the Toy Story one. That one's good.
Get that one a lot too.
Yep.
The claw that comes down. Every meme that you've seen about White Claw is in my inbox right now.
Yep.
I just want you to know that. So you can either listen to my pleas and stop sending them, or completely ignore my pleas. And that's actually what I would do if someone was telling me to stop. I would send more of them. And so maybe this is a bad way to say, let's keep it going, boys and girls. The White Claw memes are hot right now.
Yeah, reverse psychology.
Yeah, something like that. Anyway, I don't know where I was going with any of that, but hopefully you enjoyed our elk hype talk, elk hype series, where Cam Haines, good Lord.
He's got some inspiration, some good quotes in there.
Yeah, man. I'm going to go, me and Phil. You think I could do more push-ups than you, Phil, if we do a little push-up contest?
100%.
You think so?
Mm-hmm.
That's good. So I'm keeping you around.
We start talking about Cam Haines and you just challenge me to a push-up contest immediately.
What's up, man? What's up? Anyway, this is my way to say that was a great episode, and we'll see you next week here on the Hunting Collective. Looking forward to all those White Claw memes flooding into Phil's DMs. Maybe.
You're going to redirect those?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to send them all to you. When they come to me, I'm forwarding them right over to you.
Please don't.
Phil is going to be our White Claw repository from now on.
Nope.
No?
Nope. That's your job. You started this.
All right. Enjoy elk season. Bye.
Tennessee whiskey got me drinking in heaven, and I know I can't stay here too long, 'cause I can't go a week without doing wrong. Oh, without doing wrong. Drinking without doing wrong. Oh, without doing wrong. Drinking in heaven.
You ever get that feeling the walls closing in, the concrete jungle suffocating you? You crave some wide open spaces, the chance to connect with nature, maybe in a spot all your own. Well, head over to land.com. They've got ranches, forests, mountains, streams, you name it. Search by acreage. You can search by location. You can search by the kind of hunting and fishing you're dreaming of. Land.com. It is where the adventure begins. Hey, everybody, listen up. I got mega huge news. Meat Eater Live is heading back out on the road. That's right. Join me and the crew. Clay Newcomb, Cal, Yanni, Spencer's going to be there. Phil the engineer is going to be there. Meat Eater Live, headed back out. Now, when you get every ticket, okay, every ticket you buy, you get a signed copy of our new Meat Eater Outdoor Cookbook. This tour is celebrating the release of the book. Buy a ticket, get a signed copy, Meat Eater Outdoor Cookbook, wild game recipes for the grill, smoker, camp stove, and campfire, which I'll point out is a $38 value. Here's where we're going to go. April 23rd, the Mesa Art Center in Mesa, Arizona. April 24th, the Balboa Theater in San Diego. April 25, the Grove in Anaheim, California. April 27, the Crest Theater in Sacramento. April 29, the Union in Salt Lake City. April 30, the Egyptian in Boise. May 1, the Wilma Theater in Missoula. May 2, the Bing Crosby Theater in Spokane, Washington. May 4, Revolution Hall in Portland, Oregon. And May 5, the last day of the tour, Pantages Theater in Tacoma, Washington. For tickets and more information, visit the events page at themeateater.com. Hope to see you at the show.